All right, guys, it's Josh. Hey, I'm breaking down today the number one reason, number two reason, and number three reason why I went into debt personally to grow our construction business. So, first things first, I want to set the standard between what do I mean when I say debt. So, when I say debt, I mean that I actually purchased equipment and I'm financing that equipment to give myself access to equipment that will actually be used day to day on our projects and help us efficiently complete projects and be able to provide the best service that we can to our homeowners. So I've got a diagram behind me that kind of breaks down what it looks like for me with debt and without debt, and I'll break down to you guys why I went into debt, what it looked like before I went into debt, and how debt has helped me tremendously. And if you're a construction and or landscaper and or any business owner who has an opportunity to get machinery or equipment that'll help and elevate and provide a faster quality and better quality of service, why you should go into debt too. So I'll kick it off with, there's two sides of this equation, guys. We've got the debt side and we have the no debt side. So on the debt side, we have, currently right now, I have two machines. I have a T76, a brand spanking new Bobcat skid steer, and I also have another older T40 something as my second skid steer, and they both have debt on them. I do pay them monthly, and I'm going to explain to you guys why that is the case. So before I went into debt, in my first 1 to 2 years in business, where I was actually using equipment and machinery and skid steers for my projects, as I started to do landscaping projects that required, base and gravel, as I started to get into hardscaping projects that required pavers, things of that nature, this is when I first started to use equipment. So when I first started to use equipment, here I was with no debt. So on this screen here, I'm not sure if you guys can see it from there, but it says $350 per day for 20 days. So this was the cost to operate and to rent the machine as well as the dump trailer that I needed every single day to operate my business. So we were doing our first set of paver jobs, our first set of landscaping jobs, our first set of projects that actually required heavy machinery to move materials around. So every single day, myself and Max were spending $350 per day times the 20 days in a month we were actually operating minus weekends. So if we do the math on that really quickly, guys, that's a total of $350 times 20, which brings us to $7,000. So we're looking at $7,000 is what was being paid out monthly to the rental company. The rental company is getting $7,000 from our business in exchange for us being able to use their equipment on a day-to-day basis. Now, that is tremendous. They're making a lot of money from their one asset. And the funny thing is, the payment that they have is the exact same payment that I have today. So on this left side of this equation, we have with debt. With debt, currently, one of my skid steers cost $1,700 a month. This is the T76, brand spanking new, 2021, the hottest thing that you could get right now. It's got every single bell, whistle, from heated seats to hydraulic seats to ability to take off equipment and attachments, explanations for the attachments and equipment. It has a couple of buttons to actually unlock the machine to turn it on. It has a windshield wiper, it has backup cam, it has everything you could need. It's basically a car, right? And now I'm paying $1,700 for that, whereas in the past I was paying $350 per day for 20 days, which according to our math is $7K in 1 month. So I'm paying $7K in 1 month versus the opportunity to pay $1,700 in a month. So in essence, if we're looking at the difference, the company itself is making about $5,300, the rental company that is, from utilizing us as people who are renting their equipment. So the number one reason why I started to use debt was because it financially made no sense to continue to rent from the rental company. It made no sense. If they're making $5,300, I can make that from a homeowner or from several homeowners for the access to our equipment, which is the top qualities I just mentioned, right? So this is the number one reason why I went into debt to grow my business. Now, aside from that, there are a bunch of downsides that I personally am very aware of as a person who rented equipment for 1 to 2 years in a row, right? The first thing being unreliability. What do I mean when I say that? So with rental companies, you're not their only customer. You know, they're unreliable in the sense that other people are renting and you're almost on borrowed time. So a lot of times what would happen is that we'd have our job sites start at 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then the rental company wouldn't open until around 9 a.m. And then shortly after the rental company opened, 9 times out of 10, it looked like someone else was using the equipment that we needed to rent. So with that being said, a 9 a.m. start could look more like an 11:30 start if someone were bringing back the equipment and were late, were short on gas, didn't fill it up when they came back, and or there was this minor problem that caused us to not be able to take it directly to the site and make use of it that day. So unreliability, and that led to a lot of lower company morale simply because our team was standing around, they're waiting on the equipment to actually make progress, and company morale as it relates to the homeowners actually watching our team be unproductive for the first couple of hours. And they didn't like that, of course. You know, you wouldn't want to see your contractor standing outside just chatting, you know, not making any progress or any productivity happening at your home for a project that you know you're paying for. Despite the fact that we're the ones losing money, each moment they're not being productive, okay? So that's this. Second, poor appearance. You know, these machines that are used frequently by so many different companies are very beat up. So they have scratched out exteriors, you know, the paint's chipping, you know, it may be a little bit rusted, you know, the forks may be bent, the bucket may be scraped, the bucket may be rusted, the Harley rake may not operate effectively, the hydraulics may not clip correctly. So this all goes to poor appearance. And you know, the opposite of poor appearance, as I'll get to in a second, is that perception is reality. So with these older machines that we're using that are continuously being beat up, that are getting wear and tear from enormous amounts of people who are renting them, you know, we're showing up to site. Not only are we showing up to the site without the equipment, because sometimes other people who rented the materials or rented the machine are bringing them back late. Not only that, well, dude, we've got poor appearance because these machines are old, they're beat up, people have already used them for 1 or 2 years, and frankly, the rental company does just enough just to keep it intact so that it operates, so they can continue to make their $50, $300 per month. So, the best thing about the rental, of course, as a growing company, you know, as you grow, you don't know what you need yet, but as I started to take on more projects that had to do with pavers, retaining walls, outdoor kitchens, construction, real construction projects that required demolition that could not and I would not allow my team to do by hand, simply because, again, it goes back to the morale. You know, having your guys out there with picks and axes demolishing concrete is not the coolest thing versus having a skid steer and an automatic machine that can do all the labor for you. So that goes back to accessibility. Accessibility was the best thing about being able to rent equipment. The number one thing about accessibility was the fact that with accessibility, I was able to get the machine whenever I needed it. I was able to rent it for a little